Medium stack strategy, pre-flop. Medium stacks, your real problem. In 100 big blinds cash, most of your expected value comes from clean, pre-flop range geometry and disciplined post-flop execution. A medium stack is when effective stacks are compressed enough to reduce implied odds, but deep enough to punish mistakes. Think 40 big blinds to 80 big blinds effective as the danger zone in online pools, especially with rake drag and fast formats. First, 100 big blinds logic still applies, but your equity realization, R, shifts down for speculative hands. Second, 3-bet and 4-bet thresholds change because stack-to-pot ratio compresses and stack-off becomes more frequent. Third, you must stop hope poker. No set mining or suited connector calling without a clean plan. Stack size hierarchy, what changes first? First, 80 big blinds to 60 big blinds, implied odds start dying, but you still have maneuvering. Second, 60 big blinds to 40 big blinds, 3-bet pots become commit heavy. Bluffing needs better blockers, thin calls bleed. Third, below 40 big blinds, you are close to reshove poker. Most flats become mistakes versus competent aggression. Range geometry, linear versus polarized. At medium stacks, you win by choosing the right shape. Linear versus polarized ranges decides your expected value. As stacks get shorter, linear 3-bets outperform because called pots go to showdown more often. Polarized ranges lose expected value when your bluffs cannot realize because stack-to-pot ratio denies multi-street leverage. First, use linear 3-bets more from small blind, big blind, and versus wide opens. Second, keep polarized 3-bets mostly for in-position spots where your equity realization, R, stays high. Third, prefer suited blockers for bluffs. Avoid dominated offsuit junk. Capped versus uncapped matters more at 40 big blinds to 60 big blinds. If you flat too much, you show up capped. Your opponent stays uncapped. You get barreled off equity. Blockers and unblockers decide which bluffs survive at medium stacks. First, bluff candidates with blockers. Ace-5 suited through Ace-2 suited. King-5 suited through King-9 suited, Queen-9 suited. Second, hands that block folds poorly, like 8-7 suited, need better price or better position. Third, hands that get dominated, like King-Jack offsuit out of position, lose expected value fast when stack-to-pot ratio compresses. The poker place. Exploit framework. First, the exploit versus players who overflat, 3-bet bigger and more linear, then pressure their capped range. Second, the risk. If you over-linearize, you 3-bet hands that should realize better as calls in position. Third, the counter. If they tighten opens or 4-bet more, shrink your bluff. 3-bets and keep value dense. In position pre-flop, button or cutoff, versus big blind. Baseline. 100 big blind strategy assumes you open wide and realize well in position. At medium stacks, you still open wide, but you must cut the bottom that relies on implied odds. Online, with multi-tabling pressure and tracking software population reads, the pool defends better than you think. First, open the strong core. Ace-2 suited through Ace-5 suited, Ace-9 suited and better, King-10 suited and better, Queen-10 suited and better, Jack-10 suited, Pocket-10s and better. Second, trim pure implied odds hands as stacks compress, 5-4 suited through 7, 6 suited, 2s through 5s at 40 big blinds to 60 big blinds. Third, keep suited broadways, they realize and dominate. King-Queen suited through King-Jack suited, Queen-Jack suited, Ace-10 suited through Ace-Ace, Jack suited. Your expected value driver in position is denying big blind realization with C bets and turn pressure. But pre-flop, the key is avoiding calls that create low stack-to-pot ratio spots where you get forced into thin stacks-offs. First, versus big blind 3-bets at 60 big blinds, prefer 4-bet or fold with low R hands. Do not see a flop. Second, hands like 8-7 suited are borderline. They need high implied odds, deep stacks, or weak opponents. Third, hands like King-Jack offsuit are usually dominated. Folding is discipline, calling is hope-based. Minimum defense frequency still matters, but do not worship it. If the pool underbluffs 3 bets, you can overfold and print, especially in rake-heavy games. The poker place exploit framework. First, the exploit versus big blinds who 3-bet too big and too linear, 4-bet more for value and fold the marginal suited stuff. Second, the risk. Overfolding lets strong regulars auto-profit with high-frequency small 3-bets. Third, the counter. If they start 3-bet bluffing, defend with hands that have strong equity realization, R, and good blockers. Out of position, pre-flop, small blind and big blind under pressure. Out of position, medium stacks punish passive lines. Calling too much turns you into a capped range that cannot realize equity. Your default needs to be more 3-bet or fold, less defend and pray. First, in small blind, increase 3-bet frequency and reduce flats. Second, in big blind, defend but prioritize hands with robust realization. Suited broadways, suited aces, connected high cards. Third, do not set mine pocket fours versus a 3-bet. At 50 big blinds, you do not have the odds. Medium stacks shift 3-bet sizing incentives. First, larger 3-bets, cut in-position realization and simplify, but invite more all-ins. Second, smaller 3-bets keep ranges wider, but increase post-flop complexity, which hurts you when multi-tabling. Use a simple rule. First, at 60 big blinds plus, keep standard online sizes, small blind, 3-bet around 3.5x to 4x, big blind 3-bet around 3x to 3.5x. Second, at 40 big blinds to 60 big blinds, size up slightly out of position to reduce in-position float, expected value, and force cleaner decisions. The poker place exploit framework. First, the exploit versus in-position players who overcall opens 3-bet bigger from small blind with linear value, then value bet thinner. Second, the risk. Sizing too large makes your range face up and increases variance through jams. Third, the counter. If they start 4-bet jamming wider, tighten your linear 3-bets and keep bluffing to blocker-heavy combos. 3-bet pots at medium stacks. Expected value is in the pre-flop decision. At 40 big blinds to 70 big blinds, 3-bet pots are where weak players torch money. They call because the hand looks playable, then fold when pressure starts. You need clean construction, value that stacks off, bluffs with blockers, and fewer low R calls. First, value 3-bets that can stack off. Pocket queens and better, ace-king, plus some pocket jacks, ace-queen suited depending on positions. Second, bluff 3-bets that block premiums and unblock folds, ace-5 suited through ace-2 suited, king, 10 suited through king-queen suited in the right nodes. Third, hands like 8-7. Suited function better as calls in position at 100 big blinds, but become marginal at 50 big blinds, especially out of position. Pre-flop defense versus 3-bets should be tighter when stacks are medium. When you call, you cap yourself and surrender initiative, your equity realization, R, drops. Use minimum defense frequency correctly. First, if villain 3 bets small, minimum defense frequency compels more defense. Second, if villain 3 bets large and the pool is under bluffing, you can fold more than minimum defense frequency. The poker place exploit framework. First, the exploit, punish 3-bet callers by value, 3-betting wider and C betting boards that attack their capped range. Second, the risk, widening value too much makes you stack off too light versus tight 4-bets. Third, the counter. If they respond with more calls and fewer 4-bets, increase your bluff 3-bets with clean blockers. Multi-way and rake, medium stacks bleed faster. Multi-way pots destroy realization, especially out of position. Rake taxes thin edges, so marginal flats become losing even if they look close. Online pools also ISO less than they should, which increases multi-way frequency. First, do not overcomplete small blind with weak-suited hands at 50 big blinds, you donate rake. Second, ISO bigger when you are in position and the field is sticky, deny realization. Third, when unsure, choose the line that keeps you uncapped and in control, usually raise or fold. The poker place. Exploit framework. First, the exploit. In rake-heavy games, tighten flats, widen ISO raises, force opponents to realize poorly. Second, the risk. Over-isolating creates bloated pots with medium-strength hands. Third, the counter. If the pool starts 3-betting your ISOs, shift to stronger ISO ranges and add 4 bets with blocker hands. Scenario box, medium stack out of position discipline. Scenario box. Hero's hand, pocket fours. The flop, king of spades, 9 of clubs, 3 of hearts. The action, cutoff opens, hero and small blind. 3 bets to a larger size at 55 big blinds effective. Cutoff calls. Flop goes c-bet small. Cutoff calls. Your mistake is usually pre-flop. If you 3-bet pocket fours for fold equity but hate getting called, you pick the wrong candidate. At this stack depth, pocket fours has low equity realization. R. In 3-bet pots out of position and hates overcards. First, better small blind. 3-bet bluffs use blockers and unblockers like ace-5 suited. Second, better small blind 3-bet value is linear. Pocket tens and better, ace-queen and better, depending on opener. Third, if you do take a low pair, prefer calling versus small opens at deeper stacks, not forcing low stack to pot ratio out of position at 55 big blinds. The poker place exploit framework. First, the exploit, attack cutoffs who call 3-bets too wide by using a more linear versus polarized ranges value approach. Second, the risk. If you oversee bet out of position, you light money on fire into sticky ranges. Third, the counter. If they start folding more to 3 bets, reintroduce polarized bluffs with strong blockers. Key takeaway. Medium stacks demand pre-flop precision. You do not get paid for speculative calls at 40 big blinds to 80 big blinds. You get paid for building ranges that stay uncapped, defending based on real pool frequencies rather than minimum defense frequency worship, and selecting 3-bet bluffs with correct blockers and unblockers. When you feel tempted to call because the hand looks playable, you are about to donate expected value. Choose a better range shape, linear out of position, controlled polarization in position, and stop hope poker. Now, let's test your edge. Question 1. What effective stack range does the article define as the danger zone for medium stacks in online pools? Answer. Roughly 40 big blinds to 80 big blinds effective. Explanation. The article labels 40 to 80 big blinds as the medium stack danger zone because implied odds drop while mistakes are still punishable. Question 2. As stacks get shorter at medium depths, which 3-bet range shape does the article say generally outperforms and why? Answer. Linear 3-bets, because called pots reach showdown more often and bluffs realize less with compressed stack-to-pot ratio. Explanation. With less multi-street leverage, polarized bluffs lose expected value, while stronger linear ranges perform better when calls are more frequent. Question 3. According to the article, what is the main strategic downside of calling too much pre-flop at medium stacks, especially out of position? Answer. You become capped, lose initiative, and your equity realization, R, drops. Explanation. The article emphasizes that excessive flats show up as weaker ranges, making it easier for opponents to pressure and barrel you off equity. Question 4. In the scenario box, 55 big blinds effective, small blind versus cutoff. What does the article imply is the better pre-flop adjustment than 3-betting pocket fours as a bluff? Answer. Use blocker-heavy hands like ace-5 suited as small blind 3-bet bluffs and keep small blind value. 3 bets more linear, pocket tens and better, ace-queen and better, rather than forcing pocket fours into a low stack-to-pot ratio 3-bet pot out of position. Explanation. The article states pocket fours has low equity realization in 3-bet pots out of position at this depth and performs poorly when called due to overcards and compressed stack-to-pot ratio. Question 5. What does the article recommend about using minimum defense frequency versus 3 bets in rake-heavy online games when the pool is under bluffing? Answer. Do not worship minimum defense frequency. If the pool under bluffs, especially with large 3 bets, you can overfold and profit. Explanation. The article highlights that population tendencies plus rake can make minimum defense frequency-based defenses too loose, so exploitative overfolding can print. Study hard, play smart. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next lesson.